Disaster strikes. A senator is dead. Publius Claudius Pulcher is killed by one of his rivals in the Senate. Publius' death provokes the Senate into raising troops to put down the unrest in Italy. Meanwhile, in Transalpine Gaul, a province in what is now all of France, Belgium, and Switzerland beyond the Alps separating France and Italy, Julius Caesar is ordered back to winter quarters, for he must levy troops for the Roman Senate. But then, as the Senate plunges into turmoil, a far more dangerous force suddenly breaks free of Roman dominion. For years, the entire Gallic region has been under the control of the Roman Empire, but the tribes there are restless, and they crave freedom and vengeance. The absence of Caesar provides the perfect timing. Councils of Gallic tribes conspire to separate Caesar from his army. Finally, the Carnute tribe convenes with the other tribes at Genabum, a Roman town located in what is now Switzerland. They sack the town, killing the Roman traders and soldiers stationed there. News of this defiance spreads throughout the Gallic provinces, and finally, news of the attack reaches the Arverni tribe, more than 160 miles west of Genabum. The Arverni were a proud and powerful tribe. Decades earlier, Celtillus the Arvernian had briefly brought all of Gaul under his control before being killed by the fractured Gallic nobles. His son, Vercingetorix, sees the perfect circumstances to reclaim some of his people's, and more importantly, his family's lost glory. The ruling Arverni nobles do not agree, but Vercingetorix stirs up the population and seizes power. He quickly gains the support of the surrounding tribes, who are all eager for a war against Rome. Hostages are exchanged, troops levied, and weapons made as the mighty rebellion comes to fruition. Vercingetorix's next step is to send a daring messenger to break any tribes allied with Rome. This man, Gallic, is sent to the Bituriges tribe, and who is able to persuade the Bituriges to join Vercingetorix. The Bituriges then plan to trap their neighbors, the Aedui, who are ardent Roman collaborators. The Bituriges send messengers to the Aedui, asking for supplies to defend Roman territory. Instead, they and the Arverni hide and wait for the Aedui to cross the Loire River, where they will spring their trap. However, Aedui chiefs get wind of the plan and retreat. The Arverni nonetheless have gained a powerful ally, and meanwhile in Rome, the Senate has calmed down. Caesar wastes no time, hurrying to put down the rebellion in Gaul. However, he then faces a dilemma. Should he let his legions fight alone, or risk his and his bodyguards' lives to cross the Alps into chaos and war? He chooses to cross into Gaul. Meanwhile, in the state of the Ruteni, a state bordering the Arverni territories, the chiefs there have been swayed by Lucterius, the Arverni agent, and he now plans to march with his unified army on Nabo, an area in the south of France. However, Caesar wastes no time in marching to Nabo and surrounds it with his legionaries. Lucterius wisely retreats to Vercingetorix's territory because he knows he cannot take on Caesar and win. Caesar, however, looks for a quick, decisive battle to end the war and quickly strikes at a weak point along the Arverni borders. Mount Cevennes is on the border between Roman Gaul and the Arverni territories. Caesar launches a surprise attack, and Vercingetorix must retreat. Caesar then places his cavalry in the command of a young man, Brutus, and gives Brutus orders to range extensively, far and wide, across Gaul and kill any Arverni collaborators. Caesar then decides to take his legions to the Aedui town of Gergovia, which borders the Bituriges territory. From Gergovia, he will launch an offensive deep into Bituriges territory and crush the rebellious tribe. However, he does not know that the Arverni armies are planning to attack Gergovia and destroy him and the Aedui in one battle. Caesar is marching to Gergovia, and he gets information from an informant that Vercingetorix will attack the town. However, he is fearful because if he stops the march, all of Gaul will lose respect for the Roman armies. So he marches to the town nonetheless. He encounters two hostile Aedui villages on the way and destroys them both, but their people flee across the Loire to the Bituriges, and Caesar then has no choice to march over the Loire and kill them before they can alert Vercingetorix of his march. However, people successfully tell the Bituriges to alert Vercingetorix, and Vercingetorix, however, then desists from his march to Gergovia. He decides to attack Caesar. However, he is shocked to see that Caesar was able to besiege one of the Biturige cities, Noviodenum. He tries to liberate Noviodenum. However, Caesar is angry and sends his secret weapon, German cavalry, recruited across the Rhine and hardened by years of horsemanship, are able to smash into the Gallic armies. Vercingetorix must flee, and he loses thousands of men attempting to liberate Noviodenum. The city surrenders. Caesar now has the power to march to Avasurium, the capital of the Bituriges, and crush their tribe. Vercingetorix, meanwhile, tries to starve the Romans instead of fighting them. His fanatical followers burn their towns, fields, houses, and animals to destroy the Roman forces through sheer starvation and exposure. That night, over 20 towns of the Bituriges are burned, but not Avasurium. That city is one the Bituriges will defend till the death. As the Bituriges prepare to fortify Avasurium, Vercingetorix decides to trail Caesar. He thinks he can destroy the Roman armies if he attacks from behind. However, Caesar is able to set up siege fortifications around Avasurium at the expense of his starving soldiers. Nonetheless, not one of them asks him to lift the siege. The soldiers think that crushing the uprising is personal, to avenge the Romans that died at Genabon. Caesar then sends his soldiers into the forest to collect wood for siege towers. However, somebody then tells him that Vercingetorix has set up secret forest camps to kill any Romans who dare to leave the siege fortifications. Caesar knows he needs wood to build any siege weapons, so he leads his armies into the forest, and he is able to locate the Gaul forest camp. However, Vercingetorix retreats to a hill, which is surrounded by a marsh on every side. Caesar is wise, because if he attacks the hill, his armies will get bogged down and killed. Instead, he takes the wood he needs and retreats to Avasurium. Then, the Gauls shock Caesar. Vercingetorix is accused of treason because he has moved his camp too close to the Romans and he has lost every battle he has fought. However, Vercingetorix uses his thuggish followers and his talent in public speaking to direct and channel the fury of the Gauls towards the Romans. Vercingetorix tells the Bituriges to flee, but their women and children are too weak to leave Avasurium. The Bituriges refuse and stay to fight. The battle rages as the Arverni continuously attack Caesar. However, the Romans are not deterred. They raise siege towers, and their cavalry ranges around and into the Arverni flanks. Then, men on one of the walls of Avasurium panic and flee. The Romans pour into the town and slaughter the trapped and panicking Gauls. They slaughter 39,000 people. Only 800 Bituriges survive to flee to the Arvernian camps. Still, Vercingetorix manages to put a positive spin on it and tells his men that the Romans only won by knowledge and not their bravery or honor. He is quickly able to rebuild his army by forcing his allies to give him more and more troops. And now, even Roman allies join him for his reported heroics at the Battle of Avasurium. Caesar, however, takes a bad turn of luck, and he must settle a dispute in the Aedri tribe where two magistrates are vying for power. Meanwhile, he sends one of his lieutenants to march to Gergovia, and his lieutenant sets up camps at the bank of the Allier River. Caesar quickly returns, having killed one of the magistrates, and recalls his army to the town to fortify it. However, there were no reinforcements from the Aedri as promised. The Aedri, unstable as they were, have been bribed by Lucterius. Some loyal Aedri, however, inform Caesar of the treachery. Caesar pardons any Aedri who come to him, but his pardon comes too late. The Aedri, filled with battle fury, march to a Roman town, sack it, and then kill a Roman cohort stationed there. Caesar, torn between treachery and battle, is ill-prepared to fight Vercingetorix, and soon sees that the Arverni armies are easily defeating his forces at Gergovia. 86 centurions die in one night, and finally, the Romans must retreat outside the town before re-entering it once more. Then the Aedui are able to purge the Arverni collaborators because Caesar re-bribes them with Roman gold. However, the Aedui collaborators flee and burn Noviodenum, the most important and strategic town the Romans had captured since the beginning of the war. Caesar retreats from Gergovia to the Aedui borders, but he sustains massive losses. Then, trying to obtain more corn, he begs his neutral allies, the Bellovaci, to give him food. However, they, instead, betray him and begin to prepare for their own independent war against Rome. However, Caesar has to camp on the Loire River to get water. Vercingetorix and the Bellovaci are all arrayed on the other side. Caesar, however, then uses ships which are given to him and built by his legionaries. The ships cross in 3 places, and finally, they are able to completely station the Roman armies at the opposing bank of the river. The Romans' hardened soldiers create testudo formations and break the ranks of the Gauls, but they cannot defeat the Arverni armies. However, then Brutus arrives with his cavalry and outflanks the Arvernis, surrounds them, and slaughters them. Then the Bellovaci try to attack, but they too are cut down. The commander of the soldiers, Brutus, returns to Caesar. Meanwhile, a council of all Gaul is summoned at the city of Bibracte. They are in a state of emergency. They need a chief leader. All of the tribes approve of Vercingetorix and the Arverni having chief command, but the Aedui are angry. They miss Caesar's indulgence towards them. Vercingetorix then exchanges more hostage and, to boost the morale of his soldiers, lays waste to the territories of Roman collaborators. Caesar counters by summoning more and more German cavalry and fortifying Roman emplacements across Gaul. They have a mild skirmish on the Allier River, and the Arverni are still defeated. Vercingetorix then decides to retreat to the town of Alicia and begins to fortify it. However, he does not call any of his armies with him. Caesar is determined to kill and sets up an 11-mile siege wall around Alicia. On the plains surrounding Alicia, the Gauls try to liberate Vercingetorix. However, the German cavalry cuts them to pieces and destroys any archers that are stationed around Alicia. The Germans, after successfully defending Caesar's siege forts, return inside to Brutus's command. Meanwhile, Vercingetorix empties Alicia of any cavalry and sends them, instead of fighting, to plead for aid in the surrounding territories. However, Caesar, anticipating the arrival of the massive Gallic army, constructs another fortification, parallel to the siege one, but behind the Roman forces, in order to form a donut fort. In this way, the Romans can be defended from the outer enemy and attack the inner enemy. The Gauls, however, decide to raise a massive army and break the Roman forts. The army numbers over 200,000 men, but the defenders of Alicia do not know about it. They decide to attack and exit Alicia. Luckily, their comrades also assemble on the plains surrounding Alicia, and Vercingetorix, after seeing them, boosts the morale of his forces. The attackers attack but are repulsed. While on the plains, the elite German cavalry still cuts the light Gallic cavalry to pieces. That night, the Gauls attack in unison. Both Vercingetorix and his armies attack and breach the Roman fortifications. A large number of soldiers is lost on both sides, but the numbers of the Gauls work against them, and they start to kill each other. Then the Gauls must retreat, and the Romans can continue their siege while rebuilding their forts. The Gauls return to their respective camps to prepare for a third attack, where this time the Arverni forces attack to kill, taking advantage of the Romans' small numbers to spread them thin. They also use a small hill overlooking the Roman forts to attack. Vercingetorix can also attack this time, and the Gauls appear to be winning. Caesar sends more and more cohorts, and more Romans die before Caesar finally joins the action himself. His appearance invigorates the Roman defenders, and suddenly the German cavalry attack the Gauls from behind. Vercingetorix's commanders are slaughtered, his generals are captured, and all the battle flags and standards of the tribes are captured and destroyed under Caesar's feet. The Germans slaughter the remaining Gauls, and most importantly of all, Vercingetorix is surrendered by his own allies. Caesar orders him killed, and finally is able to put down all of the unrest in Gaul. The Senate in Rome declares a 20-day Thanksgiving for Caesar's achievements, which have conquered all of Western Europe.